Alrighty. As people are still starting to join, I'm just going to start with a few quick housekeeping items. My name is Katie Schauer, and you've joined us this morning for InSource MES Solutions, AVEVA Model-Driven MES. Our presenters today are Brian Primock and Jeff Miller. For those of you who have not joined us before, please note that we do have all lines muted, and we are accepting all questions in the Q&A or chat boxes. We will answer those questions at the end of the session as time allows. We are recording today's session, and it will be posted on our website later this week for you, as well as a follow-up email will be sent to you so that you can share that if you'd like to or review it. And at this time, I would like to hand it over to Brian.
Our next Learn in 30 webinar. Today's topic is about enabling operational transformation using AVEVA Model-Driven MES. I'm Brian Primock. I'm Director of Business Development, and I'm joined by my colleague and good friend Jeff Miller, Director of Smart Manufacturing here at InSource. So Jeff, welcome to this week's webinar. It's great to have you aboard.
Thanks, Brian. I am enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Me too. We always have fun when we get together. So I know that we have some existing customers signed up and some new people that may not know who we are. So I always like to drop in a kind of a 1-minute introduction of who InSource is. And I would summarize it by saying we're a company that thrives on digital manufacturing transformations. As a 100% ESOP company, our associates really live by 4 unifying principles. We're there for each other. We're there for our customers. We're trying to build a company that is designed to stand the test of time by selflessly serving our clients, people like you. And in the broader context, we're trying to contribute to the broader community of U.S. manufacturing. Our vision there, therefore, is really to make manufacturers and industrial companies more productive and profitable. Ultimately, we really believe in this idea of revitalizing manufacturing in America. And to that end, we want to be a catalyst for delivering over $1 billion in savings through digital transformation results. And we're well on our way to doing that. We don't do this alone. We're an AVEVA Select partner. There's only 8 in all of North America. And therefore, we're huge fans of Industry 4.0 technology and the AVEVA portfolio and the fit to create digital transformation. But I'd say that our secret sauce is that we've been around long enough and done enough large conversion type projects with customers that while we love technology, we know that it's really only beneficial when we can truly integrate it into the processes and routines of our clients and then support them all the way from adoption all the way through the long haul to get the greatest return from their investment. So if this is your first time joining us, I want to point out that this has been a part of a series. If you've been working around us and AVEVA, you've probably seen the slide on the right that talks about their world-class portfolio for digital transformation. And the intent of this entire webinar series is to explore each one of those circles, each one of those pieces of their portfolio, what's involved in that portfolio, as it's new to many that are often have engaged us over the years. And what we want to do is try to demonstrate and kind of break it down in simple terms as to what the benefits are and how it can help customers optimize their asset and operations life cycles. So if you've missed the first 3, you can go back. They're at our website at insource.solutions. They're available on demand, as will the whole series be. And we have one more event coming up, which will deal with the asset performance management portfolio coming up on November 11th. So in working with AVEVA, I think what really makes them unique is the opportunity for, like I said, digital transformation that their full portfolio brings. And over the last couple of years since AVEVA formed as a merger with Schneider Electric, they've been very focused on integrating and leveraging the full capabilities of this portfolio, really to help customers optimize what we call 2 very important life cycles. We call this kind of the winning at the digital enterprise game. And in one form or fashion, just about all of our clients have programs and initiatives along one of these 2 axes. So on the horizontal axes, we have the asset life cycle. This really encompasses everything that's involved, the process by which a plant is stood up. That's inclusive of all of its assets, its machines, its lines, its intellectual property. All the R&D that goes into that. So it starts there with all the tools that bring this to life, all of the documentation that comes along with it, managing all that documentation, and having it in an environment in which it's agile, so that you can go in and access it when you need it. And these are not static. Assets are not static; they're dynamic and they change a lot. So we start there. Once you put the assets in play, you use tools to visualize them to make sure they're running well, track production, and then of course on the right-hand side of that curve is the asset performance management, which is really the idea that you have to have a platform and a program to keep to maximize your return on assets and to make sure that you're less in a reactive firefighting mode when it comes to having asset availability and more in a proactive mindset of preventing any downtime that was unintended or unscheduled. And then in the vertical axis, we have the operations lifecycle. So this really encompasses everything that you do on those assets, all the products that you make, all the different SKUs that you manage, the recipes, whatever that is. It starts at the top with supply chain optimization and then planning and scheduling. And then it routes down through putting those orders out on the floor, visualizing it, monitoring it, doing everything you can to track production, maximize yield, reduce waste, and do it as efficiently as possible, which comes down to a closed loop cycle of optimizing your processes. And of course, you need to make sure that you're delivering on the quality and compliance that you guaranteed to your customer when you took the order. So today's webinar is all about this vertical axis. As we look at the Wonderware model-driven MES, is kind of our primary tool set for all those different improvements that I talk about in the operational life cycle. So Jeff, let me hand the mic over to you to get started and walk us through what this platform can offer us.
Thanks, Brian. I really appreciate it, and welcome everyone. When we plot a course in our GPS, it might be intuitive to say that our journey always starts at the beginning. But in reality, our journey first starts with knowing where we want to go. The GPS cannot provide guidance and direction until you define the destination. And that's where I want to start today. So let's first talk about the end vision. Where is it we want to get to? We all want the 21st century vision to come to life. What we want is that digital connected worker. We want to bring these things that look like science fiction into reality and make it science faction. However, the biggest hurdles to get to this vision is largely complacency and contentment with status quo. Imagine if in our daily lives we accepted this complacency from our banks and shopping. What if we were still faxing and snail mailing? Now, don't get me wrong. I know some people harken back to the good old days of waiting for the new JCPenney's catalog or the Sears catalog to come out, or even writing checks. But I, for one, enjoy this real-time digital society. Why don't we enjoy the same capability in our manufacturing? We don't tolerate it in other aspects of our lives. So why do we tolerate it in manufacturing? There's really the main reason why millennials and post-millennials don't want to work in our factories is because they expect a 21st century user experience. But in order to get AI, virtual reality, and 21st century manufacturing, it first starts with a digital backbone. It starts by digitizing, getting rid of paper and creating digital semi-automated processes. It starts by building on a platform that enables organizations to create digital procedures where people and technology can work together to increase capacity, quality, and margin. Those are our goals, right? To increase capacity, quality, and margin. The backbone has to be also able to send operational statistics and data electronically to scheduling systems that enable it to optimize production. And it has to be able to be capable of connecting to a myriad of control systems and IoT devices at the edge that are continually diverging because of the legacy applications or hardware and the modern IoT and Ethernet enabled devices that continue to flood the plant floor. But both have to coexist and both need a platform that can connect to it. Then finally, it has to be able to present this data to higher level analytics and visualization tools. We have to be able to have the ability to do AI-based analytics, have unified operational centers, and be able to do traceability to find those root cause analysis. With such a large and important role, the model-driven approach to MES can enable this 21st century user experience to come to life, as well as serve in those traditional roles of MES by acting as the middleware for your production floor. So I know what you're thinking. I don't understand how adding the words model-driven in front of MES creates this new 21st century MES paradigm. So before I answer that, let's take a step back and level set on what MES does and where it fits into the enterprise. And to do that, let's start with the ERP layer. The ERP system manages the financials of the business. The ERP system knows why the plant floor needs to make something, whether it is inventory for stock, based on predicted sales orders or orders placed by customers and promised delivery dates. The plant floor doesn't need this information. As a consequence of the primary purpose of the ERP and its broad function across the enterprise, it is inherently designed to be optimized for large data transactions, with the frequency of these transactions happening on time scales of days, weeks, maybe hours, but certainly not seconds and microseconds and minutes. And I like using gears to help make this point. If you look at the two sides of this gear, it kind of represents the bulk data transactions, the large transactions that are necessary for ERPs to exist across the entire enterprise, right? In order to do transactions across the enterprise, it has to do those in bulk. And then the frequency of these transactions occur in increments of days and weeks and maybe hours, and that is represented by the gear pitch. Now, conversely, the plant floor must be optimized to execute microtransactions at very high frequencies. We're talking milliseconds and seconds. So this dichotomy makes connecting these systems very challenging. The gears just don't match, and they are typically not synchronized with one another. ERP systems do not know what a PLC is, what HMIs are, fillers, labelers, case packers, shift handovers, logbooks, SPC, SQC. It has no context for how something gets converted from raw materials to finished products. They are primarily financial and business systems. Nor do they have the ability to serve the needs in small, quick transactions. So in many cases, manufacturers leave these systems air-gapped, leaving the company vulnerable to disruption from its competitors. And this is the single biggest mistake made by an organization who wants a 21st century manufacturing center. So the AVEVA model-driven MES is a purpose-built platform optimized to synchronize these two entities to act as your plant floor middleware. Not only does it have all of the modules you would expect from an MES and provide the traditional pathways for connecting these systems, but the model-driven component of AVEVA MES provides a foundational platform to connect your people, process, and technology, enabling that digital connected worker. So Jeff, I hear what you keep saying. I know that's what you're saying in that AVEVA model-driven MES is the key. But I still don't understand what you're talking about. I hear you. So let me go a little bit further. AVEVA model-driven MES is the amalgamation of these three technologies. And this is key. AVEVA system platform, which provides a highly available object-oriented platform for connectivity to your diverse industrial systems and devices. Then you have AVEVA MES, which enables you to model your production processes and develop product specifications along with housing your production database and a place to create your KPIs. Then finally, you have AVEVA Workflow Management, where you can define your company's business rules and define the user interfaces that fit the way you operate your business. And no longer do you have to only use what is out of the box. Model-driven MES enables you to model your MES functions against your operations and not the other way around. In the past, you had to model your operational processes to how the software vendor defined it. I know this may be a new idea or concept, so let me give you an example of what I mean. So let's take a look at what I mean by an MES software company locking you into their design and vision. Take this push button labeled start on the UI. What happens behind the scenes in the code when this button is pushed? Well, the programmer has created an event subroutine that executes logic behind that when the button is pushed. Now, this logic does some activity around starting a job or production lot or work order or whatever your company's terminology is, but it starts a production run. Now, this logic is hard-coded and compiled into an EXE, which locks the application. But if you wanted some additional actions to occur before the work order is created and started, so like, what if you wanted a checklist to pop up that ensures the operator has done all required actions before the work order or production run begins? In traditional MES, this is not possible because it is locked. It is compiled code. You have to run your business exactly how the programmer defined you to run your business. So with model-driven MES, you have that option. You have the option because we have unlocked the code. AVEVA Workflow Management uses a flowchart style drag and drop interface to define the actions that occur when that push button is pushed. When the operator button is pushed, the workflow shown in the middle of the slide executes. A checklist form is made available to the operator, and the operator identifies which items they complete. Once this has occurred, the workflow routes the form to a supervisor who then can confirm or reject the request. Once this occurs, the operator will automatically be notified of the approval or rejection state of the form. This is the final piece of the puzzle. That is the game-changing technology that is powered by model-driven MES. This gives you organizations the keys to the software in a supportable way. So let's do it. Let's demonstrate this and give you an example. I'm going to start this video. So here is the same example in action. The operator will click the start push button to begin a work order or a production run. A checklist form will appear reminding the operator of the actions that should be taken before beginning a new production run. Once the checklist is completed, it routes automatically to the shift supervisor because 2 actions were not completed. The shift supervisor gets a notification on their mobile device and they log into the workflow management app. The shift supervisor then approves the new production run and asks the operator to clean the sensors before the next production run. The operator, once this has been entered into the system, the operator will then be notified that the new production run has been approved despite the deviation, and the operator then proceeds. The operator enters additional comments stating he will clean them on the next production run and begins the new production run. And here you'll see the production run is started. So that's different, right? That is different than how traditional MES systems operate. Traditional MES systems don't give you that option. Model-driven MES is the only MES that is capable of connecting your technology, process, and people in this powerful way. You are able to connect to your production assets and model your operations. Provide your own rules for governments through digital workflow and procedures. Empower your people and meet them wherever they are in their facilities on any platform. There are a number of operational procedures that are routinely executed by operations that are either managed by paper or via training or not even documented at all and exist only as tribal knowledge. Model-driven MES provides a platform for you to capture that tribal knowledge and codify it for the next generation of employees. It also provides the ability to enforce these procedures and ensure the same processes are being followed each and every time. So let's walk through another example. Here, a technician is performing maintenance on a piece of equipment used for final inspection of their manufacturing process. Inside the digital workflow is a mixture of procedures and PDFs that provide the details necessary for the maintenance activity. As the technician moves through the checklist items, he is able to sign off on the inspections. Now, from the same interface, as he's going through the checklist items, when a non-conformance is detected, the technician kicks off another model-driven workflow for a non-conformance item. This non-conformance can automatically be routed to other actors in the organization, but that is completely up to your organization on how you define the process for handling the NC report. Uh-oh. Sorry about that. Once the inspection has been completed, the inspector will provide electronic signatures, of which will help support those organizations who have the need for 21 CFR compliance. I don't know if you got to see that. Here we go. Here's the electronic signatures. Sorry about that, folks.
The whole thing just went dark. All right, there you go.
All
You've
right.
got a black box on the right-hand side there, Jeff, covering your slide.
Thank you.
Yep.
So one final example. In this example, our equipment in our facility has QR codes for each asset. Here, we can just scan the QR code and the AVEVA mobile app will bring up the piece of equipment we just scanned. From here, we can navigate to downtimes associated with this piece of equipment. We can then review the most recent event and any work instructions associated with this asset. Once we have identified the cause of the downtime, we can then navigate through our downtime groups and assign the appropriate downtime reason code. From here, we can then add comments for future use. And then using the mobile application, we can take pictures and load them directly into the MES associated with that downtime event. Here we're going to upload 3 pictures and use those in the future for either training or root cause analysis. Now, to demonstrate that these are now assigned to the downtime event, we will head back to the main operator view for MES and list all of the downtime events. Let's find the one that we just added, and there you go. You have the 3 pictures in the database. Model-driven MES allows you to codify tribal knowledge, create consistency in execution while also enabling your operational teams to be more mobile and more efficient. Model-driven comes with predefined user interfaces and business rules for common MES applications out of the box. So if you're worried about having to build your application, once you get it, that's not the case. What we're saying is that we're going to provide you the templates and the application to do the job, but then if you want to change it, you can modify it. Because most organizations want to put their DNA into their MES system. So once you've added your DNA, creating your customized procedures and business rules for one area in your plant or for your entire plant, you can templatize these into reusable engineering and roll them out across your facility or across your enterprise. Model-driven MES and its 3-part architecture is what makes AVEVA stand out as a market leader and recognized as such in Gartner's Magic Quadrant. Model-driven MES provides the modern UI experience today on any platform while also providing the digital backbone to implement AI and AR/VR technologies. Hopefully, we can talk about 21st century manufacturing journey that you may have, and feel free to reach out to us anytime. We're glad to have that conversation, but for now, I'm going to hand it back off to Brian and Katie.
Well, thanks, Jeff. That was extremely informative. I know we're at the end of our time. I do want to let everyone know that our webinar series will actually culminate in a digital event that we're hosting right before Thanksgiving on November 18th, 10 a.m. It's a 4-hour event, but it's jam-packed with some great content. There's 2 keynotes. We've got Anirban Basu, who's basically a world-renowned economist, noted in the Baltimore Business Journal. He's going to give some insight on manufacturing productivity in the post-pandemic world. We're also joined by Ann Kroom, our president and CEO. She'll discuss the power of connection, manufacturing's transformation. And then we've got 4 independent tracks. Each track will kind of walk through a piece of the AVEVA portfolio. We'll have live customer panels with clients that we've worked with, posing them questions about their experience, their results, their challenges, et cetera. So I encourage everyone that's listening, that's interested in this, to go to our website, insource.solutions. Right from the main page, there's an option to go ahead and view more information about the event and register. So again, thanks everyone. And Katie, with the few minutes we have left, we can take a few Q&A, I believe.
Okay, we do have a couple that came in. The first one says, my ERP vendor says that my ERP can be the middleware application as an MES. Why wouldn't I just use my ERP? Why do I need a separate MES?
That's a good question. So I'll go ahead and answer this one there, Brian. Your ERP vendor solution will also have a separate entity for the ERP to act as the MES. It will not be as integrated to your ERP as you would hope. And imagine if you did connect your ERP directly to your plant floor and your production floor, and having to maintain to do maintenance on both system or on ERP system, knowing that it's going to affect the production floor. The 2 a.m. time for IT maintenance is great for business systems and financial systems because no one is usually active at 2 a.m., but manufacturing plants are. And so connecting these things direct, it becomes a challenge from a supportability perspective. And trying to schedule downtime at a plant and your business systems would be a big challenge. Another downside is that ERP vendors' domain expertise is not manufacturing. They're financial business systems. They don't have their solutions typically don't have the complete domain coverage for all of the activities required within the plant, like the AVEVA portfolio does. And you end up with these siloed applications to fill many of the gaps. And then when you think about 21st century applications, ERP systems don't come as my first reference point for 21st century user interfaces. In fact, if you read Gartner, it talks about one of the leading ERP systems and their user interfaces as being the primary, one of the main detractors of it is its dated look and feel. The buttons are small and they're not able to be used on tablets and mobile devices. So, and then one other factor is nimbleness. You know, when I think of ERP, I don't think of nimbleness, I don't think of mobile, and I don't think of agile. So those, you know, to me, yeah, that's, you know, when I hear that, that's what I think of.
I would agree with all your points, Jeff. I mean, you know, I don't think that in this day and age, if you get the right platform and you have the tool set for integration to the ERP, that's kind of first and foremost on your list, that you can't accommodate really best in class for whatever, let's call it MES solution you're trying to solve. So the ERP could do a phenomenal job, let's say, tracking orders to cash, releasing orders to the floor, maybe even tracking inventory on an interim basis. But oftentimes you'll find they'll sacrifice somewhere else, like they'll sacrifice on the downtime and OEE tracking. And so one of the reasons I think the AVEVA MES or model driven MES, is so popular is that we can just pull out that module and insert that. It's much more agile, much easier to update, you know, reason codes change, et cetera. And it's still very plug and play with the ERP solution, but you get the richness and the strengths of the two platforms in the spaces they play best in.
Great. Our next question is, we are at the very beginning of implementing Recipe Manager Plus in our factory. How does this fit into the MES platform?
Good question. So, you know, Recipe Manager Plus is a formulation recipe. You know, it's a light procedural application to manage how the flow of your manufacturing process. And so, as with all AVEVA products, it sits on the system platform architecture, right? And so as it sits within that architecture, it also communicates to our historian. It communicates to many of our different modules within our platform. And so the Recipe Manager product can get its information from our MES for its bill of materials, or for any different areas within the manufacturing process. And it sits within that layer, I think, very nice, along with the in-batch solution. You can go with in-batch or Recipe Manager, but ultimately it plugs into System Platform, which plugs into the rest of the portfolio.
Great. Let's see, our next question. We're looking into MES, but we're just getting started. Any advice on where to begin?
Hey, Jeff, maybe I had a few ideas on that. In fact, we're working with a customer right now, and they had a similar question they posed to us late last week. And I know technology is important, and I think a lot of times that the technology team, the IT team will jump in first. They definitely have, they own that domain. They're going to be a big part of that solution. But I would suggest that the most successful implementations we've had, we've begun ahead of them a bit and said, look, you know, what are the business issues that you are trying to solve here? I mean, what's the justification? What is that? Or even simply put, the hypotheses that you believe if we got better in these areas, it could have this result to our business. And that's going to take some time to get a team together, to get the stakeholders together, and have a couple of conversations about it. Because oftentimes it will get rushed really quickly through and say, let's go find a technology solution without taking that into consideration. And having been a part of these conversations, when you have a business leader, let's say a plant manager, an operations leader, even operators as part of a dialogue, you'll see very different perspectives on what they hope to get from this system. And really, it's just a matter of having those conversations and starting to write down all the things that we hope that this solution will get for, or that will achieve for us. And then from there, it's kind of another fairly simple exercise to say, okay, do we all agree on the list of the wants? That will inform us not only in the short term when we stand something up, but give us a vision of what it's going to look out, 2 or 3 years or 5 years. And then just start to go through an effort to try to prioritize, like what is the impact and what would be the potential complexity to implement your highest priority item. And that will also, I think, feed into a better vision for everyone on the team and what they want in the long run from the current state to the future state, in what order they might go after it, and do them in phased projects, because I challenge that almost no one can eat the elephant. And we find that really helps as you get into the project in trying to evaluate different platforms as to how to rank those particular platforms against this evolving set of, let's say, loose business requirements. So I would definitely start there first.
Great. It looks like we have one more question. We are considering MES across multiple locations. What suggestions do you have that we should consider?
Well, I'll take this one there, Katie. So, as mentioned previously, that one of the strengths of AVEVA model-driven MES is the ability to templatize and create usable engineering modules. And another advantage that we haven't mentioned is the ability of us to scale the MES to the enterprise by having it centrally located in either a public or private cloud environment, to where we can host the server components for the MES in a central location, but then apply the edge components for the real-time activities at each site and feed that into the main MES application. And that gives us a hybrid cloud solution that takes advantage of the IT infrastructure or a cloud-based infrastructure in one location, and then minimizes the amount of the footprint at each location, ultimately reducing your cost for IT infrastructure.
Great. So that was our last question. I'd like to thank everyone for attending today and for staying on a few extra minutes so we can answer those questions for you. If you do have any further questions, or you'd like a demo or a meeting with us, please feel free to contact us via our website, insource.solutions. When you get there, right in the upper right-hand corner, there's a Contact Us button, and you can just fill out that form and we will get back to you as soon as possible. You can also email us at communications@insourcess.com, and we will be happy to help you that way as well. We do have our next upcoming webinar on November 11th, and then followed the following week by our digital event. So please feel free to register for those, and we will see you then. Have a great one. Thanks, everyone.